federal government ordered by the Supreme Court to negotiate a settlement with area First Nations. Good evening and thank you for joining us. Canada and Ontario owe nearly 150 years of back pay to the First Nations in the Robinson Treaty areas. The Supreme Court of Canada says the Crown dishonorably breached the treaties for failing to increase annuity payments. Lee Noonan has been following this story and she joins us in studio. Lee?
Thank you, Riley. As a signatory to the Robinson Superior Treaty, Fort William First Nation is party to the historic case. The First Nations along Lake Superior rejected a settlement offer and are claiming $126 billion in compensation through the courts, but this decision put a hold on that process. The Supreme Court was scathing in its decision on an appeal to the Robinson Treaty's annuities case, calling the Crown's breach of its treaty obligations egregious and dishonorable, and saying, quote, "For almost a century and a half, the Anishinaabe have been left with an empty shell of a treaty promise."
Today, the Supreme Court of Canada has made sure and expressly stated that the governments are not above the law.
In what the court calls a mockery of the Crown's treaty promise, annuity payments to the Robinson Superior and Robinson Huron First Nations haven't increased since 1875, when they were set to $4 per person per year. The country's highest court has now upheld previous decisions, affirming the Crown should have regularly increased payments and now owes the First Nations.
I mean, this is, this is really positive. This is really something to be celebrated.
Fort William First Nation Chief Michelle Solomon says the decision reinforces the Crown's obligation to the First Nations and the need to hold the Crown accountable.
You're hopeful that things are going to come back in what you believe to be the right decision, the right way, the right thing to do. We all know that it doesn't always happen that way, so I'm really grateful.
The ruling lays responsibility on the Crown to augment treaty payments liberally and justly, quote, sharing the wealth of the land.
They do not have unfettered discretion to decide if there should be an annuity increase, when it should be. That matter ultimately is for the courts to decide if the governments do not act honorably.
The Huron area First Nations already negotiated a $10 billion settlement, but the Superior First Nations took the issue to court, arguing they're owed dramatically more, as much as $126 billion. This new ruling puts a hold on that process and sends the parties back to the negotiating table with a narrow 6-month timeline to come to a settlement. Solomon won't speculate on the possible amount of a settlement or payment increase, but does say it could make a big difference in her community.
It can mean, new homes. It can mean, new opportunities. It can change the course of a person's life.
After waiting nearly a century and a half, courts also say payments should not be delayed if a settlement isn't reached or if the issue goes to judicial review. Lee Noonan, TBT News.
The criminal trial of a Thunder Bay police officer has now concluded at the city courthouse, but it will be another 2 months before the judge renders his verdict. Constable Ryan Doherty is pleading not guilty to the charge of assault causing bodily harm, connected to the incident in November 2022. The 60-year-old complainant was a mental health patient who walked out of the regional hospital. Doherty was asked to find the man and bring him back, but the interaction on Oliver Road led to the man suffering a fractured nose and a concussion. Doherty admitted in court that he punched the man 4 times to get him to stop resisting. In today's final submissions, the Crown prosecutor called those actions unreasonable, unnecessary, and disproportionate to the situation. But Doherty's lawyer disputed that. The verdict will be delivered in late September. The full story can be found on tvnewswatch.com. 4 people are facing drug trafficking charges after Thunder Bay police searched an Archibald Street home on Wednesday. Officers found an estimated $80,000 worth of cocaine. A man and woman from Thunder Bay, aged 54 and 50, are in custody, along with a 24-year-old from Toronto. The 4th arrest was a youth from Whitby. All 4 appeared in court and remain in custody with future court dates. A Thunder Bay man has been charged a second time for child porn offenses. It began after city police received information that someone was breaching a prohibition order related to children. It led to the search of a local home yesterday morning, where police found child pornography. 57-year-old Scott William Gratuga is charged with possession of child porn and failure to comply with a prohibition order. A GoFundMe has been set up for the family of the man who died while working at New Gold's Rainy River mine this week. Jeffrey Woolsey died early Wednesday morning after being struck by material while working in the open pit. The mine has been shut down while the Ministry of Labor investigates. The GoFundMe is meant to alleviate the financial burden on the family as they prepare for a celebration of life for Woolsey. He leaves behind a fiancé, 3 children, and 3 stepchildren. The fundraiser had a $5,000 goal, but nearly $30,000 was already donated by this morning. A local pharmacist is welcoming the Ontario government's plans to expand pharmacists' abilities to prescribe and treat patients. The province is conducting consultations on allowing pharmacists to diagnose and treat 14 ailments in addition to the 19 they already do. This could include strep throat testing, treating mild headaches or minor sleep disorders, and administering vaccines such as tetanus, HPV, hepatitis, and shingles. Vinay Kapoor is the owner of Dawson Heights Pharmacy. He says although this change would be very beneficial for patient care, it's not always easy for pharmacies to handle the extra work.
For the patients, the best thing that could happen. Unfortunately, it's a mixed bag. Pharmacy is going to be overwhelmed with the amount of work, so we're in consultation with the government on that. So it'll be downloading a lot of the things from physicians to pharmacists. We're already strapped for time since COVID with the injections and the extra minor ailments. And in addition to that, our professional fee hasn't increased. It has not increased since 2012. So in order to provide all these services, we need some reimbursement to help with staffing and other infrastructure changes that'll have to happen.
The province first expanded pharmacists' role in 2023 by allowing them to treat and prescribe medication for ailments such as pink eye, cold sores, and more. An inquest is set to begin in Thunder Bay on Monday regarding the death of a young woman in Kingfisher Lake First Nation in 2017. 31-year-old Ruth Van Queequish, a diabetic patient, died from health complications due to a lack of insulin. She had attended the nursing station in Kingfisher Lake multiple times in the hours and days preceding her death. The inquest will examine the circumstances surrounding what happened, with the jury expected to make recommendations to prevent similar deaths. The inquest is expected to last 14 days, with the jury hearing from around 20 witnesses. Walmart recently implemented sensory-friendly shopping hours across Canada, including at its 3 Thunder Bay locations. Those with noise and light sensitivities can enjoy a much calmer shopping experience 3 mornings every week. Joel Mendelson has more.
Sensory-friendly shopping hours are intended for people who may suffer from disabilities which cause sensory sensitivities. These disabilities range from autism spectrum disorders to attention deficit disorder and many more. Sensory-friendly shopping hours differ from regular store hours by reducing stimuli for customers. That's done by not playing music, limiting announcements on the PA system, and even changing the TVs to display only static, low-sensory images. Store manager Yuchi Yang says the difference is very noticeable.
Some customers can get, a little confused. They're wondering, if something is broken and what have you. But all in all, the feedback's been positive. Customers enjoy the quiet environment throughout the store. In terms of specific feedbacks, not really, but customers did notice, it's really quiet. I enjoy it.
Stores with similar programs have even gone as far as dimming the lights. Walmart officials said that they are not yet capable of doing so, but are looking into the idea. According to Yang, these hours may be beneficial to about 1/3 of the population.
What Walmart Canada has found, over 33% of people in Canada have sensory issues. With every day, even including yourself and myself, there's a lot of technology, a lot of things that's kind of drawing our attentions away. There's a lot of information, to a point it's almost information overload. We want to create a more inclusive shopping experience for our customers and our associates. So far, I can't really speak to kind of what the finding, but it's definitely received positive feedback. I think that's why they expanded out to Walmart Canada as well.
After a month-long soft launch, Walmart Canada has decided to implement sensory-friendly shopping hours from 7 to 10 Monday through Wednesday in all 403 of its Canadian locations. Joel Mendelson, TBT News.
Cirque Italia is back for another run of performances, with something a little more risque this time. The Paranormal Cirque begins tonight, featuring an innovative horror story with a European-style flair. Vasilios Bells joins us live from outside the Big Top. And Vasilios, what can people expect tonight?
Yeah, Riley, as you can probably tell from the performers standing next to me, the experience will be a little edgier than last week's family circus. It'll feature some thrilling attractions, including a motorcycle on a high wire and what organizers call the Wheel of Death.
The perfect show for lovers of horror movies, thrills, and danger. Cirque Italia is back in Thunder Bay this week with something aimed more towards adults. The R-rated Paranormal Cirque has its first show tonight in the Big Top next to Intercity Shopping Center. It follows the story being called as terrifying as it is risque, featuring monstrous creatures with hidden talents. General Manager Benjamin Holland says this is the perfect experience for any horror lover.
Spookier, scarier, this is the show for you guys. I think it's everything you normally kind of think of when you think of a circus, but with this kind of horror, bloody, scary, Halloween-themed twist. And I think this is the kind of circus for people. They love their horror movies. Even when it's January, February, March, they don't care. They're coming out. This is the kind of show for that kind of person.
During the rehearsal Friday morning, organizers said there was going to be plenty to do prior to the actual show as well. A number of costumed monsters will be making their way around the circus, scaring patrons, with a scary maze you can brave as well. Holland says that all leads up to the show itself, featuring some death-defying acts.
Acrobats from all across the world. We have a lady, she hangs by her hair. She's suspended 30 feet up in the air. We have a motorcycle on a high wire that drives over everybody's heads. We have a gentleman running around on a wheel of death is what it's called. It's not called the wheel of death for nothing. There's no safety harnesses, there's no nets. Everything is really happening really right in front of your face.
Tonight's performance begins at 7:30. No fear if you can't make it, though, with Paranormal Cirque running every evening until Monday. Back to you in the studio, Riley.
Oh, that gave me the chills. Thank you so much, Vasilios. Well, for the 11th straight month, the Thunder Bay 50-50 draw has made someone a millionaire. This time, it was Drew Quigley of London, Ontario. Quigley got the call earlier today that he'd won the grand prize for July.
So you got plans for the weekend?
No, not too much. So quiet.
Just quiet, relaxing? Well,
Yep.
I might disturb that quiet of your weekend.
How's that?
Because you bought tickets in the Thunder Bay 50-50 yesterday, right?
Yes, I did.
Well, you have won the grand prize.
Get out.
No, I'm serious. You've won the grand prize.
Oh my God.
Do you know what that is?
I don't know the exact amount now.
Well, it's a little bit over $1.25 million.
Oh my goodness. That is unbelievable.
Quigley says he plans to share his life-changing amount of money with his two daughters and do more traveling with his wife now that they are retired. The Thunder Bay 50-50 has now awarded more than $43 million in total prize money. Tickets are already on sale for next month's 50-50 with a draw date on August 30th. And Fiona, I'm still waiting for this call. I know we say this every single month, but you know when you get around that time, around noon, and the call starts to come, or you get a call? It freaks me out every time. I think it's going to be them, and it never is. But
well, I know it's never going to be them because I forgot to get my tickets this month. This was my fault.
Okay,
I
fair
would have
enough.
won, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'll take the weather, though, today. I'll take the weather. That's
We
like
were
winning.
all winners today
Absolutely.
with today's weather. After an early morning low of 9, we warmed up to 27. Now, it was a sunny start, but this afternoon we've had some increasing clouds, but still the humidex topping out at 31, so it was a warm day. Winds from the southwest, for the most part, light to start, but in the last, say, 3-4 hours, it has been kicking up quite a bit and reaching up to 40 kilometer per hour gusts, and that's going to continue for the next few hours. Now, across the region, similar temperatures in many locations, especially to the west. Pickle Lake at this hour is sitting at 30. And Dryden also matching that. We've got high 20s in Red Lake, Kenora, Fort Francis, lots of sunshine. But the humidex in this area is all sitting around 38 at this hour. So no surprise, there is a heat warning in effect to the west, but it's also affecting most of northwestern Ontario because that is going to continue on throughout the weekend. It's not quite reached Areas further east, Marathon currently at 21, 20 in Wawa. Sault Ste. Marie is at 25 and a humidex of about 29. Up into Greenstone and Armstrong, the humidex is sitting around 30, so not quite in that super heated zone yet, but it is going to work its way across the region over the weekend, so everyone's going to get a taste of these extreme temperatures. And tonight, it's going to kind of set the stage because it's going to be a lot warmer than it was last night. No single digits here. We're looking at a low of 17. And although we have been increasing in clouds over the last few hours, it's going to clear out for much of the night. And then that's going to set the stage for the weekend. And as I said, that heat warning is in effect, especially for Thunder Bay. So humidex levels hitting that 38 range that's already in areas west of us, that is what is coming for Saturday and quite possibly into Sunday as well. So it's going to be a weekend that we want people to get out and enjoy it, but take care. Hydrate, shade,
absolutely,
and sunscreen.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to probably just try to have a nice hat on and sit with my body submerged in some sort of water.
Little kiddie pool.
Little kiddie pool, absolutely. Thank you so much, Fiona. Well, when we come back, we'll turn to international news where the Paris Olympics have begun. But the day started a little bit rough as an arson attack has delayed France's national train services. We'll have more on that as your Friday News Hour continues.
Something happens, there are enough police people, so it will be okay, we thought. But yeah, it was a little bit scary.